Hey, hi there. Good morning, afternoon, and night. Good now, folks. This is Lucas from Whenever MTG, and today I bring another different video for you guys. Today I'm bringing my own top 10 cards from Aetherdrift for Pauper. So I came up with this list. I have ranked 10 cards for you, and cards that I think that will impact the format significantly, meaning they will see play in existing decks and or originate a whole new deck. The card that I've ranked top one, I think, has the most what's the word? Has the most potential to originate a whole new deck that's somewhat the same as Glee. Well, if you're interested, stick around and let's take a look, okay? So yeah, let's go to the list, to the top 10 list, shall we? Okay. So, for 10th place, we have Stampeding Scurryfoot, this little guy here. What does he do? It's a 1 mana, 1/1 with a new ability, Exhaust, which is basically a activated ability that you can only activate once. Once you do that, you gotta mark the creature somehow, saying that, showing that it cannot use that ability anymore. So what's this ability? 4 mana, you put a 1/1 counter on this creature, and you create a 3/3 elephant token. Okay, Lucas, why is this relevant for Pauper? Well, I mean, this is 10th place. We're not talking about first place. I think this little guy is relevant because it's a 2-for-1 card. It's a 1/1, but if you get to pay the 4 mana exhaust ability, you generate another body and you pump the first one. So, you're going to have a 2/2 and a 3/3 for just one card. And to me, 2 bodies for just one card is pretty awesome. I think it will see play in maybe some like mono green or green X decks. I think it's relevant and it's worth trying it. It's a mana sink. If you have no other cards to play, you can just use it. And then, you can sacrifice the first creature, the 2/2. There's many different applications. So I really think this will see some play. Okay. Moving on, we have number 9, Burner Rocket. Okay, this is the first and probably the only vehicle in the list. Okay, what does this do? It's a 2 mana card. It's a 3/1 vehicle with flash, and it says when it enters, target creature gets +2/+0 and trample until end of turn. Okay, why is this relevant? Well, at first glance you think, well, 2 mana for +2/0 and trample, that's pretty mild. But here's the catch. One thing that I think that Mono Red lacks sometimes is more artifacts. And I think this card could see some play in Mono Red Codota. Why? Well, it will help your 1/1s or 2/1s, trade with a stronger creature. And then after that, you're going to have one more artifact on the battlefield, which you can sack for Kudota or synergize with, Galvanic Blast, or the 2/2 or the Tomb Raider. So, it's not entirely bad. And then, in later turns, you can just tap a 1/1 Goblin to activate a 3/1 vehicle, which is pretty okay if you ask me. I wouldn't play 4 copies of it, but maybe 1 or 2 is worth the try. I think it could see play. Okay. Moving on. Number 8, Stall Out. Okay, this is maybe controversial, but hear me out. What does it do? So it says it's a 2 mana sorcery. You tap target creature and you put 3 stun counters on it. And on top of that, you have cycling for 2 mana. Okay, why is this relevant? Well, picture this. You're playing mono blue and you don't have, that many removal spells. You have some bounce spells, which are pseudo removals. You won't deal completely with the creature. Your opponent can still recast it. And some creatures, you don't want your opponent to be able to recast it. Chrysalis, for instance. So, yeah, you're going to tap the creature, and you're going to have 4 turns before it comes back online. The turn you're casting, stall out, and three other turns. So, why would you play this card if there's so many good removal in Pauper? Like Cast Down, Galvanic Blast, Lightning Bolt, Journey to Nowhere, and, countless ones. Well, I think this card could see play in a mono blue build where, you don't want to splash another color just for the removals. This can get the job done, the same way a Cast Down would. Think of it like this. You tap a creature, you start attacking, you have 4 turns to, finish the game. If you have lethal in less than that, this card will have done, at the end of the day, will have done the same job as a Cast Down. You took a blocker out to, attack. So I would say this, can get the job done. So I think it's worth the try. Maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 copies, and maybe even 4 because it has cycling. So if you cannot use it, it's not a dead card. You can just cycle it, which will discount your terrors. Yeah. I think it's worth the try. Okay? Yeah. Moving on. We have number 7, Collision Course. Yeah, I've seen many people criticizing this card, saying that it's basically a worst Abrade. And yeah, Abrade is an instant and deals 3 or destroys target artifact. But, yeah, it's red. So you have to splash red in order to play it. Or you can play white, just white, mono white build, whatever, or any other combination of colors, and play this card. Both cards will have the same effect most of the time. And you won't feel obligated to splash in red or whatever color just to play something else. So this gives white more, tools to either, have a creature removal or destroying an artifact. So I think it's definitely a sideboard card where you would use maybe 2 copies or 1, depends on your metagame, of course. But it will probably see some play in mono white builds. White Winnie or maybe even Orzhov Blade can play this in the sideboard. Yeah. Well, let me know what you think about it. Moving on, we have number 6, Maximum Overdrive. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people talking about it already, saying that this will be the next toxin analysis. It will have the same goal, the same applications. Okay, well, what does this do? It's a 2 mana instant that says put a 1/1/1 counter on target creature. It gains Death Touch and Indestructible until end of turn. Wow. Yeah, I guess you can see where this is going. Along with Car Clan Shaman, it's going to wipe the board and it will keep the shaman alive, which will put an immense amount of pressure on your opponent. They have to kill the shaman in order to deploy a board. So, this will just put a lot of pressure on them. The fact that the shaman stays alive. And I think this will be a bit broken, but slightly slower because it's 2 men instead of 1. One more downside is that this card, the Overdrive, doesn't give your creature lifelink, and that will be that can be game changing. That 3, 4, 5 life you usually gain with the Toxin Analysis combo can be just what you need to survive the pressure of an aggressive deck. Whereas, sure, you're gonna still have the shaman in game in play, but you won't gain that life. And if your opponent has burn spells, well, you're done. I see this card being played somewhat interchangeably with Toxin Analysis. They will fulfill the same role, but it will depend on your meta. If you're if you're tackling aggressive decks, you might want to stick with Toxin Analysis. If you're battling against big creature decks, or also aggressive decks, has the same application really. You might want to try this one out. So I would say that it's definitely worth the try, and we'll probably see play in Pauper. And also, it's not a dead card. This card gives one of your creatures indestructible, which means if they're being targeted, you can just save it. You're going to save it and put a +1/+1 counter on it. So I would say it's worth it. Save, pump it. So this card has a lot of potential. It will never be one of those dead cards, I see it being played interchangeably with Toxin Analysis, but it will depend on each one's reality. Okay, moving on. Number 5. I know. No one expected to see a 1/1 rat here, but here it is. And let me tell you why this is my top 5. Engine Rat. 1 mana, 1/1 Death Touch. Pay 6. Your opponent loses 2 life. Okay, Lucas, why is this rat here? Why is this relevant? Okay, I see this card being an alternative for Glee combo. Why? Well, Glee usually generates a bunch of, not a bunch, but infinite colorless mana. And if you're able to transform that into black mana, boom, you have a win condition. You can just transform, your infinite colorless mana into black mana and just deal lethal damage. So I see this card being an alternative to the elf. I think there's I'm sorry, I can't remember its name. It's a 1/3. I'll just add it here. So it's a 1/3. Whenever a token or a creature dies, your opponent loses 1 and you gain 1. So that has been the win con of choice for Golgari Glee combo. If you don't have red for makeshift munitions, that's your win con of choice. But I see the red fulfilling the same role, because you can, if you're able to transform colorless mana into black mana, you're just going to have the same win con, plus you kind of get around those pesky, Trespasser's Curse. You know, you don't have to deal with an enchantment that kind of counters your deck. So, yeah, I think that's very relevant. Plus, one more thing. It's a Death Toucher, which means it can't trade with pretty much anything else in the format. Besides, you know, creatures with protection from black or first strike, but that's not the case. We're here to point out that, you know, let's say you're getting overwhelmed early on. You can just play the rat as a, you know, as a powerful blocker, because it will take out anything your opponent puts in front of you. And, you know, you're going to play multiples. You can just, you know, keep one or yeah, you can just keep one and later on combo. So yeah, it's somewhat controversial, but I think it has potential. So yeah, please let me know what you think about it. If you so far disagree with any of my rankings, yeah, feel free to leave your comments down below. It's really appreciated. Moving on to number 4. Okay. I'm going to butcher this. Chitin Gravestalker. Yeah, look at this big guy here. Yeah, it has that sweet ability to, you know, its cost gets reduced by each creature and artifact in your graveyard, which means most of the time you're going to play it for 1 or 2 mana, you know. So that's big, you know. It's a 2 mana 5/4. Yeah, I would say that's pretty good. Okay, but where do I think that this will see play? I believe this card shall see play in, you know, dredge and or, you know, self-mill decks, where you want to, you know, just keep milling yourself until you have a decent amount of creatures in your graveyard, and then just cast this for 1. And look at that, it has cycling. So if you can play it, cycle it. I think this card will most probably see play, but, you know, we gotta wait and see. Yeah. Moving on to my top 3 now. Here's number 3, Packdoll Terror. Yeah, look at that nice car. Man, so what does this do? It's a 4 mana 3/4 artifact creature. When it enters, and whenever an artifact enters under your control, you drain your opponent for 1. They lose 1, you gain 1 life. So, but damn, it's a 4 mana card for Pauper. Yeah, usually Grixis Affinity can't control the game until, you know, very late turns. So I think this guy could be like an extra option, like an extra alternative, like an extra win con for Grixis Affinity. Or, you know, maybe somewhat of your main win con. But why do I say that? Pay close attention. It says whenever an artifact enters. So, you know, we got artifact lands. So whenever you just play a land, you drain your opponent for 1. You deadly dispute something, you create a treasure. A treasure is an artifact, another drain. You play Blood Fountain, you drain for 2. You see where this is going? So Grixis Affinity is basically like 20 lands or something, where 18 or 19 of them are artifact lands, and I don't know, like 30 artifacts and some spells. So everything you play is going to drain your opponent. And what Grixis wants to do is, you know, lower your opponent's life down enough to just, you know, end the game with a Galvanic Blast, for instance. So I think that Pack Del Terror will most likely get you there. Where, you know, also providing you with a 3/4 body, a somewhat decent body. Yeah, life gain's nice. So I think this card will most likely see play in Grixis Affinity. Okay, moving on to our top two. Green Bauble. And man, I love this card. Let me tell you why. Because I play Orzhov Blade. Mostly because of that. But yeah, what does it do? It's a 1 mana artifact that says when it enters, it gives your opponent's creatures, one of your opponent's creature, -2/-2. So it's basically disfigure with an artifact body, which you can keep reusing with Glint Hawk or Core Skyfisher. Hey, Lucas, but you know, we have Tithing Blade. Why is this relevant? Well, it's 1 mana. It's 1 mana, and you get to choose the target. You know, turn 1, maybe you're going to face Arbor Elf or, you know, some of those 1 mana relevant cards. It will allow you to just instantly kill it on turn 1 and replaying it on turn 2 if you want. If you have Glint Hawk, you can bounce it back and just kill another creature. So that's 2 less creatures in 2 turns. I say this is very relevant. So yeah, I think we'll most likely see it will see play in Orzhov Blade. So yeah, man, this is one of my favorite Pauper cards so far. But yeah, let's talk about number 1, shall we? Here we have it, Magmakin Artillerist. Okay, yeah. Why is this guy number 1? Well, I think this guy will, let's say, originate a whole nil deck. Okay, Lucas. Tell me, what's going on? Yeah, see here. Whenever you cycle a card, whenever you discard a card, it deals 1 to each opponent. But hey, are there that many discard effects in Pauper? Some. You know, Arachnis Madness is one of them. You know, you keep discarding cards every turn. So it could be an option. You know, it's 3 minutes, somewhat slow, but it can help you deal some extra damage every turn because you're always discarding 1 or 2 cards every turn anyway. So why not turn that into damage? I think it will see some testing in Rakdos Madness, but this is not even the main point here. The Magmakin Artillerist is probably going to be the next Glee. Yeah. So let me show you. If you combine Magmakin Artillerist with this, Ophidian Eye, it will almost allow you to combo. So what does this do? Whenever enchanted creature deals damage to an opponent, you draw a card. So we're halfway there. Can you see the combo here? So if we have any discard outlets like Putrid Imp or this guy, for instance, we can discard cards as many times as we want by just discarding them. We don't need to pay any like mana costs. So yeah, there's the combo. You discard 1, deal 1 to your opponent, draw a card. Discard 1, deal 1, draw a card. Repeat until your opponent is dead. So yeah, I think this card might see, play. Sorry, that's a strong word. It will see play in Pauper. And, it's just going to be let's say, another combo deck in Pauper. We currently have Glee and some other decks. But this one will be in red and blue colors, along with either black or white, or you can just play Is It. Here's Marco Meba does the same thing. It's a discard outlet that you can use the same as Portrait Imp or this little guy here. So yeah, there's the combo. And why is this combo strong, or as strong as Glee, for instance? Well, you're playing blue, so you're playing counter spells. You're playing red, you're playing cheap removals, and also global removals, sweepers. A red has plenty of them. And you can play your creature on turn 3 or 4, usually 4 or 5, where you can protect it with a counter spell. But then even if it gets killed, you can try to recast another, and if it sticks, if your opponent taps out, they're dead. Even if they don't tap out, you can just cast Ophidian Eye in their end step, which will allow you to come back into your turn and just combo off. So I say that's a pretty good deal. Yeah, I think this will most likely, this card will impact the current metagame by, adding another combo to the list. And just like Glee, it will force people to play, defensively with mana up every turn. Yeah, that's gonna suck. But yeah, I think this card is probably the best Pauper card in the format, just because of that. Just because it will originate a whole new deck. Most likely, Is It or Grixis or maybe just Kai. You can also play like artifact lands, the indestructible ones, with wildfire cleansing to, help you ramp and draw cards to find the combo pieces. So yeah, I think we're about to see a new deck right there just because of that guy. So if you agree or disagree with me, you're more than welcome to leave your comments down below. If you enjoy the content, please consider subscribing. It helps me a lot. I also want to thank each and every one of you for the continued support. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be here. So thank you. You're part of my journey. So I greatly appreciate that. So with all that being said, thanks once again. I hope you enjoyed the content, and I guess I'll see you next time.